Good morning. It's another Coffee Time with Andrew. This is episode 85. And I am going to go over a little bit about what I've been up to. I finally got to do another public presentation. This is the first one in quite some years. It was to a very small group, but it was quite enjoyable. And it's a great way to get back into it. Like I say, it's been quite a few years since I have done any public presentations. You can see up here, right up there, I have my Puppet set up for going out and promoting, doing talks. And you may also notice a new little logo up here. Where is it? There it is, over there. That is my andrewledford.com site. And that's where I'm going to start promoting my public speaking and books. You know, I'm writing that one book, chapter 5. I'm on chapter 5, 7 chapters, 7. And I have 5 to 13 pages left on chapter 5 until I'm on to chapter 6. And so I'm getting there. This is the first draft, and I need to go back and edit it, make it simpler to read. The thing that I'm getting at with this first book is I don't know if I want to publish it first. I'm also working on a second book, actually 3. I'm kind of at a little lull right now because I'm doing some research to support the last part of chapter 5. But it's going to even be more important for the third book. This will sort of be the foundation for the third book. And also, the research I'm doing now really plays into the public speaking that I'm doing. But the first book, I'm thinking there's a market for it, but I don't know how big. But the second book, I think that's going to be a lot more appealing to people. So I'm starting to think, should I wait until I get the second book done, publish it first, and then the book I'm working on now, or should I go in order? That's something I'm going to have to consider. I'm also starting to think about possibly talking to publishers. I like the idea of self-publishing because then I can reuse my material however I want, which I rather like, having total control of it. But I believe there are some rights management laws and techniques that we can use where I can still have control of my content even if I sell it to a publisher. And you know, I've spent my entire life training dogs, so I've accomplished a lot with it. I've actually accomplished a lot of the things that I set out to do when I was a teenager, 18, 19. I want to move into some new areas in my life. Well, I plan on continuing to train dogs for as long as I physically can. I have always been interested in verbal behavior. I think that anybody who's interested in behavior in general is very interested in verbal behavior, human behavior. So that's one of the things that I'm experimenting with public speaking. I am also starting to look into teaching English to non-English speakers through a website. And one of the main reasons for doing that is to work with different strategies and ideas I have about language, verbal behavior, textual as well as spoken, and some things that I want to try with that. But one of the areas I really want to explore is sales. So I am looking for a sales job. You know, some people do sales just because they don't have anything else to do. I want to do sales because it's part of the whole gestalt of developing that theory of experimenting, of experiencing how to manage and what structure verbal behavior in a way that hopefully is repeatable I know you have your top salespeople. Some of what they do is not repeatable. You can't teach it to your average core salespeople. I want to work on a system that will help the average person. That's where if you can just move the needle a little bit, you can make a big difference in the company. So those are some of my projects. And then, there's that second book, then the third book. That's really the one I'm looking forward to writing. What else am I doing? You can see my puppet back here. Let me go this way. Yeah, the puppet back there with the sign. I am planning on going out and doing some promotions for the public speaking with that puppet. And that'll be an interesting endeavor in itself. So a lot of these things are out there experimenting with verbal behavior. I am basically on a training program right now. So as I write this dog training book, I am thinking, oh, you know what? I'm going to start doing that with my own behavior because I'm always experimenting with my own behavior. And today I was writing, which I always do, but I was writing notes. And I realized that I have a different strategy for learning a behavior and turning it into some type of code system so that I can teach it. And then I have a different strategy for learning and a different strategy for teaching. And then there's that intermediate strategy where I break it down so it can transcend me learning to me teaching, which I found rather interesting. And it goes back, my learning style, I realized, well, I've always known this, but today I wrote about it. It goes back to when I was quite young. Probably, I talked to my brother earlier today to get a date, actually. I was probably 7 years old, 6 or 7, but I think 7. When my brother taught me to teach, he taught me to play chess. And back then, I remember trying to figure out how I was learning to play chess and noticing the steps I went through because I played checkers a lot at the time. There was a big difference. So I remember learning to play chess and noticing my behavior of how I changed from checkers to chess. And it was and it's still a style I use, a strategy I still use in learning a new technique for training dogs, learning a new technique for teaching people language. I've had foreign language friends who I've taught English to, and I have developed some of these techniques. And then, of course, I borrow from other people. I have a friend who has her dad was very famous in Japan for teaching English. So I've borrowed some of those ideas as well. In fact, I've developed a whole English as a second language program. It's a little bit out there. It's out of the box. In fact, so far out of the box, so unusual, so unique that most people, when they hear about it, they just can't comprehend doing it. But you can take somebody with 0 language skills. At least this is my idea. I've never done it because nobody wants to do it with me. 0 language skills. Put them in an environment where you are using, what would we call this? Well, it's using scientific data. So you are using well-proven techniques to instill a new language. And I'm now rereading B.F. Skinner's book on verbal behavior. So you're using psychomotor skills and the environment to instill in people what Skinner would call mans and tacts and interverbal behavior, metaphors, that sort of thing. And then you gradually progress into more complex sentences, and eventually where people should intuitively develop an ability to recognize proper sentence structure. If there's 10, 20 people who want to do that, I'm game. Get in touch with me. So that is that part of it. Not sure if I have much else to say, but it is coffee time. I always like to have a little sip of coffee in the morning. And again, my mornings are usually devoted to writing. I usually read digital information, digital copies of content in the morning. And then in the evening, I like to read a paper book. So this morning, I've been reading quite a bit about different forms of memory, lots of different regions of the brain, and I always find this fascinating. I would imagine that most people would find it rather dry, but it does play into the whole concept of the book, teaching English, learning to speak in public, learning to do sales. It's all related. It's this gestalt that if we can all develop, or not all of us, but if a few of us can develop it and rise to a higher level, I think that it has some value. Well, that's going to do it for today. I am wishing all of you the very best in life. Have a wonderful day. Bye-bye.